big bucks tonight. And here's how it works. Buy a chance in our 50-50 drawing, and you could walk away a big winner tonight. Chances are just $1, and the drawing, which will take place following our first feature race, will pay the lucky winner half of the 50-50 sales for the day. The other half will go into the driver point fund to be distributed amongst the drivers at our award ceremony in November. In fact, last season more than $20,000 was given away to lucky 50-50 ticket holders. And you just might be one of those lucky winners this year. So buy a chance. It is a good cause. The driver point fund obviously helps the drivers put cars together over the winter and be back out here for next season. We're ready for heat number 1 in the limited sportsman division. Assistant starter Junior Niles on the flag stand, looking for a start out of turn 4, asking the boys to pick it up a little bit. Green is in the air for the first event of the night, and Mark Bernier jumps off from the pole position. Being challenged now by the number 80 of Darrell Ward as they race the 1-turn and 2-turn. Mark Bernier has the lead to himself. Cars jockeying for position. Only 12 cars to qualify for the main event. The rest will have to run in the consolation event. Mark Bernier leads the way for lap number 1, followed by Darrell Ward. Then comes the 48 of Tom Bragg, now looking to challenge Ward on the outside. Then the 03 is Steve Howard. And the 76 Earl Glidden Jr. for your top 5 in this first qualifying heat. Twelve cars to qualify, so you keep your eyes on them. The rest will have to run in a consolation event a little bit later in the evening. Obviously, all the drivers want to make it into the main event. That's where the money is, and that's where the points are. So they will battle for a qualifying spot and avoid the consi if they possibly can. Mark Bernier in the 55 out of Westbrook, Maine, with about a 2 to 3 car length lead over Darrell Ward. Ward receiving a challenge now from the number 48 driven by Tom Bragg. The 30 of Joe Green looks like he's headed to the pit area, and that will put him to the consi event. Looks like 12th place is a battle right now between the 61 of Scott Johnson and the 87 of Steve Perry. Mark Bernier out of turn 4, still with a comfortable lead in this first qualifying event. Bragg now looks to the inside of the number 80, trying to take over that second place position if he possibly can. Assistant starter Junior Niles says halfway point in this first qualifying heat with the cross-checkered flags. As they come out of turn 4, it'll be the halfway point of the first qualifying heat. Mark Bernier extends his lead as Bragg and Ward battle side by side now. Bragg to the inside, takes over second place in the 2-turn down the backstretch. Now a challenger on the outside is the 107 of Doug Shores as he looks to battle the outside of Steve Howard on the inside, Doug Shores to the outside as they battle for 4th place position. 12th place car right now appears to be the 42 of Doug Balestria. 3 wide out of the 4-turn and down the front stretch, and now back to a column of 2s as cars kind of bunched up now. Everybody looking for that top 12 position, and a battle shapes up now as the laps wind down, and all of these drivers hoping to qualify in this event for the feature event coming up later on tonight. Outside row moving now with 44. Terry Brown breaks loose and makes a bid on the outside now of Gary Adams. It'll be 2 laps to go next time around. Terry Brown on the move as he works to the outside of the 74. Looks to challenge Gary Adams and Earl Glidden. 2 laps to go now. Bragg putting a challenge to the rear bumper of Mark Bernier. Bragg in the 48 has made up a lot of ground. He's right to the rear bumper of the 55 of Mark Bernier. White flag will be in the air for Bernier and Bragg as they battle for this first qualifying heat of the evening. Bragg now looks to the outside of Bernier. He has come a long ways. The 48 is obviously going strong. Made up a lot of ground here in the last 4 or 5 laps. Checkered flag in the air for Mark Bernier in his first qualifying heat of the 1990 season. Young racer out of Westbrook, Maine. Tom Bragg came a long way in the number 48 to secure second. Then came the 80 of Darrell Ward, Steve Perry in the 03, and Doug Shores in the 107. Again, the lower point cars at this time in the late models. Obviously, still some of your top cars not having gathered the points that they certainly will. Mike Johnson, a good example of that. Flagman Eddie Walsh saying we're looking for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air, and it's Mitch Brown jumping into a quick lead in the number 40. Young Mitch Brown out of Scarborough, Maine now has a challenger on the inside and the outside. Joe Bowser dives to the inside, trying to fill that inside groove, and it looks like he just may do it. Rick Zemler working the outside. Gary Pulsifer ran strong last week looking for racing room on the inside. Mitch Brown fights back on the outside as they race to turn 1. But it's Joe Bowser in the award-winning number 32, Lisa's Pizza. Futura Stone car for Joe Bowser. Mitch Brown hung on the outside now, and it's the inside row that appears to be moving as Rick Zemler hangs on to second place. Then it is Gary Pulsifer. Car spin in the 2-turn. That's Ken McLeod in the 28. We'll have to see if he can refire. Ken McLeod sits on the inside of the track. Yellow flag comes out as the 28 is unable to refire. That'll put us to a restart situation. We'll revert back to the last lap run under the green flag. Games will be placed with other junior fan club winners throughout the season. And at mid-season, there will be a drawing. And the good folks at CV's Furniture and Appliance in Windham and Scarborough will be providing the winner with a portable Sony AM/FM stereo cassette recorder and compact disc player, a $260 value. Then at the end of the year, a winner will be chosen, and the Mayetta Foundation Company will provide a $500 gift certificate. Restart back to green, and it is once again Joe Bowser holding off the challenge of Rick Zemler. Problem with the 33 of Mike Johnson, and he elects to take it right to the pit area. One of the real strong runners in the late model sportsman division. We'll hope that they're able to straighten out whatever the problem is with the 33. Joe Bowser in command of this first qualifying heat of the evening. Then comes Rick Zemler in the 11, Gary Pulsifer, Bobby Babb in the number 4, and the 85 of Ricky Harrison round out the top 5. 17 of Al Versett and Kurt Gary. Now here comes Kenny Lund on the inside in the number 1 to mount a challenge to the inside of the 88. Flagman Eddie Walsh says that we're at the halfway point of this first qualifying heat for the late models. Bobby Babb on the move on the outside as he works to the outside of the 27, takes over 3rd place now down the backstretch. Bobby Babb ran very strong opening day in the number 4. Cars get together between 3 and 4. Gary Pulsifer in the 27, Ricky Harrison in the 85. We'll see if they can refire. Cars down over the 3-turn. Everybody appears to be underway. We will stay under green. Bobby Babb now looking to challenge Rick Zemler to the outside. Try to take over 2nd place. Next time by, it'll be 2 laps to go. Bobby Babb works to the outside of the number 11 now, down into the 3-turn. Side by side out of the 4-turn. 2 laps to go for your leaders now. Rick Zemler to the inside, a veteran former champion here at Beech Motor Speedway, and Bobby Babb also a veteran from Windham in the number 4 as they race side by side into the 3-turn. White flag in the air for the leaders now. 1 lap to go. The race is for 2nd place. Side-by-side battle with Rick Zemler in number 11, Bobby Babb in the number 4. Zemler with a slight advantage down the backstretch as they come in a turn 3. Babb looks to work to the outside. Checkered flag in the air for Joe Bowser. Rick Zemler, Bobby Babb wide out over the stripe. Couldn't quite do it. A car to watch, though, in the feature event a little bit later on this evening. The 89 is driven by Spike Matitol. The number 3, Lou Weatherby. The 90 is Kevin DeBias. The 19, Bill Childs. And the 33 tonight, Jim Brown. First qualifying heat for the open wheel modifieds. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we're looking for a start at turn 4. Rondo, a green flag is in the air, and Pete Rondo jumps into a quick lead right off the pole. Then comes Spike Matitol, working the inside, Westcott and Weatherby. Open wheel modifieds, the only modifieds running in the state of Maine, hitting speeds upwards to 100 miles an hour at the end of the straightaways. Pete Rondo was Rookie of the Year last year. Made a fine showing. Some tough luck to start out this year. Engine problems last week caused him to only run the warm-ups, and then he had to put the car on the trailer. Talked to him for just a moment in the pit area tonight and said they thought they had the problems worked out. Ended up breaking a timing chain last week. Were able to salvage most of the engine parts, and that was certainly a good stroke of fate that they didn't lose the entire engine this early in the year. Rondo maintaining about a 3 to 4 car length lead over Spike Matitol. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we're at the halfway point of this first qualifying heat. The race shaping up for third is Dennis Westcott to the inside. Lou Weatherby looks to the outside now as they race turn 1. Dennis Westcott back after a short retirement of the sort. Purchased the Pete Peterson modified and reworked it. Some tough luck a couple of weeks ago, losing the front end of the car to the front stretch wall. And the gentleman who's behind him called him up that night and said, let's put a new nose on it. They did just that in one day, got him back. And you can be sure that Dennis Westcott is going to stay in his groove, because he talked with me last week and said, hey, if it wasn't for Lou Weatherby, I wouldn't be racing. Lou Weatherby keeps trying the outside, can't quite make it stick. 2 laps to go for the leaders. White flag will be in the air next time by for Pete Rondo as he makes a good return from some tough luck last week. Able to maintain a comfortable lead over Spike Matitol in 89. Then comes Dennis Westcott, still holding off Lou Weatherby. Weatherby to the outside now. Checkered flag in the air for Pete Rondo as he collects up the first qualifying heat for the modifieds. Dennis Westcott hangs on a third as he just holds off the hard-charging Lou Weatherby, and then comes the 90 of Kevin DeBias, up from the runner-up spot in the limited sportsman last year to try his hand in the open wheel modifieds, and making a good solid showing. Winner of the first qualifying heat coasts down to collect up the colors in a picture. Young Pete Rondo in the Riverside trailer in Winnebago. Pete's True Value Hardware number 5. The 78 Dave Fecto. The number 6 Billy Thompson. The 2 Brad Layton. Number 10 Steve Winslow. The 8 Joe Eastman. 54 Rick Burnett. The 0 is Gary Clough. The 88 Mike Field. The 28 Kevin Durgan, and the 111 Pee Wee Knight. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we are ready. Look for a start out of turn 4. It's Chuck Haynes and Dennis Quinn bringing them down on the front row. Green flag is in the air, and Chuck Haynes looking to jump out from the pole position to a quick lead. Keep your eyes on the 89 of Butch Buzzell, a strong runner, already a feature winner. A lot of strong cars, practically any one of these cars capable of winning a feature. So once again, only 12 cars to qualify, and it's going to be a battle because everyone wants to qualify in this race if they possibly can. Only 12 to qualify, however. Your leader is Chuck Haynes in the 68, then comes Butch Buzzell in the 89. It's Donnie Morse in the 75 working the outside, as is the 93 of Danny Palmer. It's Dean Turgeon working the inside. Turgeon and Palmer get together. That gets the 51 out of shape. Everybody gets straightened out, and a good example of some good driving by these limited sportsman drivers. They're used to running in traffic, and that's the advantage of working a class like this. A driver must be able to run in traffic. Chuck Haynes with a lot of pressure now from the 89 of Butch Buzzell. Danny Palmer still looking to work the outside as he races the outside of the 75. That's Donnie Morse on the inside, Danny Palmer to the outside, battling for third place. Danny Palmer looks to take over third. Now he's challenging Butch Buzzell. Keep your eyes on the 93, a strong runner. Kerry Anderson, it looks like, makes a quick exit to the pit. Something wrong with the 51. He'll be back in the consi. Here comes Danny Palmer to the outside of Chuck Haynes now. Keep your eyes on the 93. Working his way to the front, and he does in the one turn. Butch Buzzell looking to try to do just the same thing as he works to the outside of the 68 now. Danny Bubar on the move in the 24 also. Remember, only 12 cars to qualify out of this second qualifying heat. It looks like the number 70 is your 12th place car at this time. Keep your eyes on him. A lot of strong runners back there in the pack. Current point leader, Pee Wee Knight in the 111. Brad Layton in the number 2. Looking to get up in a qualifying position here in this second qualifying heat. We'll be coming to the halfway mark, says flagman Eddie Walsh, with a cross-checkered flags for Danny Palmer as he comes out of the four-turn and looks down to the flag stand. It's halfway. Danny Bubar now right to the back bumper of the 89 as he looks to try to take over second place. Looks to the outside of the 89. Side-by-side racing for the fourth position finds Chuck Haynes on the inside and Donnie Morse to the outside. Also, the 16 and the 2 racing 3 wide as they get together in the one turn. Brad Layton in the 16 working side-by-side down the backstretch now. Keep your eyes on them. They got together on the front stretch. Brad Layton has made up a lot of ground. Up to 8th place now. The 16 also a strong runner. Running side by side with the number 2. 2 has the advantage now as they work the outside of the 73 car. Chris Rule has made a nice move, made up some ground. Still looks like the number 70. Cars get sideways. Mike Field up onto the sand pile. Does a nice job of bringing it back. Looks like a flat tire or perhaps a wheel partially off the zero as he takes it to the pit area. Brad Layton now in the one turn, 3 wide as he works to the outside of the 14. Keep your eyes on the 2 turn. Cars are 3 wide down the backstretch, looking for qualifying positions. The 14, the 73, and the number 2. 2 laps to go, says flagman Eddie Walsh. 2 laps to go. 3 wide still down the front stretch as Brad Layton works the third groove, trying to work his way to the front the hard way. Down in the 3, white flag is in the air for the leaders. Brad Layton still on the move, making the outside work with the number 2 as now he's challenging the 75 of Donnie Morse. Worked his way all the way to 5th. Front 3 cars have just kind of run away. Now the 2 has the inside line. Can't quite do it. Checkered flag is in the air for Danny Palmer, picking up the second qualifying heat. Donnie Morse hangs on a 4th, and Brad Layton is your 5th place qualifier. It looked like the number 70 was the 12th place car in the final qualifier. That is obviously unofficial. The remaining cars will be back in a consolation event. Danny Palmer in the number 93 comes down to collect up the checkered flag in a picture as he is the winner of the High Point Heat here this evening. Always a strong runner and a car to watch in the feature event later on. 0 is driven by Barry Babb, winner opening day here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. To his outside will be Bobby Harrison in the number 37, a former champion in the late model division. The number 2 is driven by Glenn Cusack. To his outside, Phil Pinkham in the 07. 34 is Bobby Libby. 91 is Bob Randall. 35, Paul Johnson, last week's feature winner, and the 16 is Tim Land. Looking for a start out of turn 4 is flagman Eddie Walsh. Green flag is in the air, and it's Andy Lude from the pole position, and Mike Mayetta looking to run to the back bumper of the 56 and try to keep Kerry Winslow to the outside as they race the backstretch to the 3-turn. Mayetta in second place, just a slim lead as Winslow fights back on the outside, side by side across the stripe. Barry Babb looking for racing room as he's boxed in behind the 13 and the 49. Then comes Bobby Harrison and Jay Johnson. As the cars race side by side for second, that kind of opens things up for Andy Lude, and he puts some distance on Mike Mayetta. Mike Mayetta breaks away now, and Barry Babb now challenges Kerry Winslow to the inside. 37, Bobby Harrison working the inside now as Winslow fights back to his outside as they battle for 4th place. Down the backstretch once again, Bobby Harrison and Kerry Winslow side by side racing, and we're at the halfway mark, says Eddie Walsh. Andy Lude just continues to put distance on Mike Mayetta. Certainly a strong car to watch a little bit later on in the program is the 56 of Andy Lude. Here comes Mike Mayetta, Barry Babb in the 0, Kerry Winslow still holding a slight edge over the 37 of Bobby Harrison for your top 5. Glenn Cusack, Bobby Libby, last week's feature winner Paul Johnson. Really with no place to go right now as they're kind of tucked right in line. The cars are very even and very difficult to come up from the back of this second qualifying heat. They are the top cars in the division right now. 2 laps to go, says flagman Eddie Walsh. Cars still trying to work the outside, having difficulty doing it. Kerry Winslow working to the outside of the 0. White flag is in the air, meaning 1 lap to go. Kerry Winslow looking to battle back. Worked for a moment to the outside of the 0, and then he dropped back. The race is for 5th and 6 as checkered flag is in the air for Andy Lude. Mike Mayetta, Barry Babb, Kerry Winslow, and Bobby Harrison, your top 5 in the second qualifying heat. Right on the pole in the number 50. To his outside, it is young Scott Watts from Seabrook, New Hampshire in the 80. The 29 is Tom Oliver. The 16, Mike Mayetta. The 61, 2-time champion David Pinkham. And the number 1, Willie Elliott. He says we are ready for a start out of turn 4 as Bob Gahan and Scott Watts will bring them down. Green flag is in the air. Gahan and Watts race side by side. These are your high point modifieds. Gahan with a slight advantage down the backstretch into the 3-turn. Cars very even as you can see. You can put a blanket over those top modifieds. Gahan breaks away now to have the lead to himself, and the battle now is for second with Tommy Oliver and Scott Watts. David Pinkham looking for room on the inside as he challenges Watts down the backstretch into the 3-turn. Trying to take over 3rd place. Willie Elliott and Mike Mayetta looking for racing room back there with no place to go right now but to follow suit. As Oliver goes a little wide out of the 2-turn, Pinkham fills the inside groove and tries to take over 2nd place. They race side by side. Here comes Pinkham on the inside to take over 2nd. Willie Elliott up the inside also as he challenges Tommy Oliver for 3rd now. Inside groove working a little bit better here early in the evening. And Bobby Gahan jumping out. Scott Watts turns the car in the 4-turn. That will bring out the yellow flag as the F-80 is unable to refire. Sets in a dangerous spot there in the 4-turn. Once again, these modifieds turn speeds up around 100 miles an hour at the end of the front stretch. And certainly no one wants to sit facing those oncoming cars. Bobby Gahan, the winner of last week's modified feature, right on the pole in the Lux Enterprises number 50. as he and defending champion David Pinkham on the front row. This time green flag is in the air, and Gahan gets a slight edge on the restart to retake the lead, and the battle now is for, well, it's still for first as Dave Pinkham fights back on the outside, not ready to relinquish the lead yet. Willie Elliott in third, Mike Mayetta fourth, then Tommy Oliver and Scott Watts. Bobby Gahan, your leader. Then comes David Pinkham in the Kudamash prepared Cumberland York Distributors number 61. Willie Elliott in the Goodwin Hannaford number 1, and then Mike Mayetta making his transition from the late model to the modified, and he does it very well. Obviously a different type of car. If you've seen Mike outside of a car, he is a big man. Doesn't have a whole lot of room in that modified, and driving two classes is certainly a challenge. Once again, a spin in the two-turn by Scott Watts. Something evidently amiss in the F80. White flag is out for the modifieds. Scott Watts still sitting in the two-turn. He refires the F80. We're on checking flag lap, and it's Gahan and the 61 side by side. We'll wait for an official call on that one. Bobby Gahan to the inside, David Pinkham to the outside as they race to the front strip. Dead heat, ladies and gentlemen. Officials say that was a dead heat at the white stripe, with Bobby Gahan on the inside and David Pinkham to the outside. They don't get any closer than that. I know I couldn't call it. And the officials say that was a dead heat. When the bumpers came to the front stripe, they couldn't call it. Dead heat. A good example of the competition in the modifieds, and two cars to watch in the feature event coming up a little bit later on. The 95, Roger Williams. The 97, Ralph Height. The 41, Gene Theriault. The 104, Ed Strong. 50 is Al Barabee. 56, Robert Bodwell. The 60 is Lloyd Washburn. The 110, Phil Brackett. The 17 is not Carol Hodgson, it's Jim Burt in the 17. Number 1 is Dave Sprague. The 09 is Frank Collins. The 94, Dave Oliver. 83, Steve Carrier. The 59, Frank Scott. 103, Richard Ryder. Green flag is in the air. The battle is shaping up between Russ Johnson and Jim Colbert. Johnson gets the edge to start with, a spin right here at the start-finish line. The 114 is Dan White. That'll bring out the yellow flag as White was unable to fire the car for a moment. Remaining cars on the end of that lineup we'll get for you in just a moment. Cars unable to see the yellow, evidently, or having a brake problem, but they just a big climbing all over each other here on this restart. Assistant starter Junior Niles on the flag stand for the restart of this limited sportsman semi-feature. Once again with Russ Johnson in the 34 on the pole, and to his outside the 99 is driven by Jim Colbert Jr. We'll look for a start at turn 4 with Johnson and Colbert. Green flag is in the air as they race the front stretch. Russ Johnson with a slight lead as they head into the two turns. The 49 is driven by Ron Smith, and he takes over second place. Car spins, that's Maycomber on the backstretch. Cars scatter trying to avoid him as he moves to the outside. Several cars up against the backstretch wall, and that's going to put us back under yellow, as there was no place to go for several of those drivers. The number 1 is Dave Sprague up against the wall. Can't tell really just how hard he got into the wall. Kind of a tough break here early in the evening. We'll hope that he'll be able to straighten out the number 1 and either get it back in this qualifying heat or make repairs and be able to I'm sorry, in the semi-feature, he's out of the car, so he's all right, but unfortunately, bound to be some damage there if he's getting out and taking a look at it. We'll also be running the traditional Bobby Bushley Memorial tomorrow night as part of the Memorial Day weekend. So it's a special evening, and we hope that you'll plan to be with us tomorrow night right here at 7:03 for the running of the Memorial Day Classic. Looking ahead, June 2nd will be our Dash for Cash, always an exciting race. You won't want to miss that. And then on June 3rd, the rescheduling of the American Canadian Tour Coca-Cola 100 will be run on June 3rd here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. Alignment has been reworked, and we're ready for a restart here in our semi-feature for the Limited Sportsman. Once again with Russ Johnson and Jim Colbert on the front line, bringing the semi-feature down to a start out of turn 4. Assistant starter Junior Niles on the stand, and the green flag is in the air. Once again, the 34 of Russ Johnson jumps into a lead into the one turn, and Colbert works the inside. Robbie Dorr working the outside. Keep your eyes on the 23 of Robbie Dorr. Always a strong runner here in the Limited Sportsman. 3 wide, and Dorr makes it work as he takes over second place. Kevin Buck in the 25. Cars scatter in the one turn. Gets straightened out with the exception of one car who is off the track in the infield, able to back away. That's the 66 of Trent Smith. Backs right out across the track, making it kind of tough for the rest of the competitors. They do a nice job of avoiding him as he tries to get himself back into the race by backing right up across the speedway. And these Limited Sportsman drivers do a nice job of avoiding that 66. Ready for a restart in tonight's Limited Sportsman semi-feature as the Pape Chevy Land Beretta makes its way down the infield pit road. We're ready for a restart out of turn 4 with Johnson and Dorr on the front line. Green flag is in the air. Johnson once again with a slight advantage down the front stretch as they race into turn 1. Young Russ Johnson looking to hold off a hard-charging Robbie Dorr in number 23. Then comes Kevin Buck, Ron Smith, and David Colbert for your top 5. Cars get high out of the turn 4 area. That gives the 25 a chance to challenge Robbie Dorr in the inside, and they race now side by side down the backstretch to race for second place. And that gives the 34 of Russ Johnson a little breathing space as the battle shapes up now for second place. Side-by-side challenge as Dorr takes a slight advantage down into the turn 1 area, and turn 2 about a 3/4 of a car length lead as he negotiates the backstretch, trying to shake the 25 of Kevin Buck. Yellow flag once again as we have a tangle on the backstretch. Car left sitting near the entrance to the pit area, and one able to drive away to the pit area. One car in the sand pile there, and another car, looks like Ralph Height down at the infield side. He has his car refired, but that will once again bring out the caution flag. If you are 16 years old or younger and you enjoy making models of race cars, June 16th will mark our model contest night, and all you need to do is build a model of one of the race cars here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway and enter it into the competition and enjoy a good time. And believe me, the drivers enjoy seeing these models of their cars. We're ready for a restart in our Limited Sportsman semi-feature with Russ Johnson and Robbie Dorr on the front line, bringing them down to assistant starter Junior Niles, who puts the green flag in the air. This time Dorr side by side in a slight advantage as they cross the line. Russ Johnson fighting back on the inside. They're side by side as they enter the 2 turn. Now Johnson fights back. They're even down the backstretch into the 3 turn. In the second row, it's Buck and Ron Smith also racing side by side. Remember, cars are racing for points. In this race, they want to be able to run in the qualifying heats next time out and a chance to run in the main event. So all of the drivers are perhaps most concerned about the points more than the money, I would say, in this race. Johnson doing a nice job of holding off a hard-charging Robbie Dorr in the 23. It's still Russ Johnson, the leader, followed by the 23 of Robbie Dorr. Then comes Kevin Buck in the 25. Ron Smith looks to challenge Buck on the inside now. Young Ron Smith in the 49, one of the cars judged best looking at the mall. 2 laps to go, says assistant starter Junior Niles. Cars stretched out, and it's a series of 2-car races. White flag is in the air as Russ Johnson looks to hold off Robbie Dorr for the lead. Then comes Ron Smith, Kevin Buck, the 91 of David Culprit, and the 41 of Gene Theriault, as they have kind of collected themselves up into a series of 2-car races. Checkered flag is in the air, and Russ Johnson collects up his first limited sportsman semi-feature of his young career. Robbie Dorr, Kevin Buck, Ron Smith, and Dave Culprit rounds out the top 5. Russ Johnson coasts down to the start-finish line in the Johnson's garage, number 34, as he follows a tradition that many members of the Johnson family out of Buxton, Bar Mills area. A lot of good race car drivers in the Johnson family, and it looks like Russ is going to be another one as he collects up the Limited Sportsman semi-feature. And he'll be collecting one of the traditional memorable trophies from the Mayetta Foundation Company. I'm sure you've noticed them down front. And many of the drivers, I think, always try a little bit harder for some of that hardware from the Mayetta people, and they always do a nice job of making the trophy special and memorable for feature winners and, in fact, top 3 competitors in the main event. Next on the agenda will be the consolation event for the Limited Sportsman, those cars who did not qualify in the qualifying events earlier in the evening. They'll be out, and only 8 cars will qualify from the Limited Sportsman consolation event. On the front line, it's Bubba Pelton and Billy Thompson bringing it down to a fast start out of turn 4. Flagman Eddie Walsh on the stand with a green flag in the air. Bubba Pelton jumps out into a quick lead. The battle is now for second, with Steve Perry to the inside, Billy Thompson to the outside, and Kevin Durgan and Rick Burnett all looking for racing room. Only 8 cars to qualify in this consolation event. Bubba Pelton, number 27, Billy Thompson, Steve Perry, Kevin Durgan in the Z28, and Rick Burnett, your top 5. Pee Wee Knight now, a strong runner in the 111, looking to race to the outside. Phil Weeks, a rookie in the number 19, has been running strong, as has Phil Weber in the number 79. And it's going to be a tough job for the rest of those cars to challenge that top 8, because the top 8 has been able to break away, as you can see. And right now, they are your qualified cars. Joe Green experiencing some mechanical difficulty, a tough break, and he has to take the car to the pit area. Meanwhile, up front, Billy Thompson has a challenger on the outside now by the name of Kevin Durgan in the Z28 as he races the outside of the number 6, and Pee Wee Knight tucks into the inside. Then comes Rick Burnett, Steve Perry, Phil Weeks, and Phil Weber, your top 8 and qualified cars as it stands right now in this consolation event. Some top runners back in the pack. If we don't get a restart, it's going to be perhaps impossible for them to qualify. Strong runners like Mike Field in the 88. Kerry Anderson in the 51, the 70 of Jeff Morgan, the 0 of Gary Clough, the 3 of Mike Mayetta Jr. You got a lot of fast cars back here at the end of this Consi event. Got to be some frustrated drivers because the top group has been able to break away. The 85 of Scott Chapman now trying to enter that top 8 group, as is Mike Fields, as they are putting a charge on now to try to work their way into the top 8 and qualifying positions. Kevin Durgan has taken over second. Now he looks to the back bumper of the 27 at the halfway mark of this consolation event. Bubba Pelton goes a little wide. Kevin Durgan looks to the inside. Couldn't quite do it that time. Bubba Pelton in the 27. Kevin Durgan in the 28. Then comes Rick Burnett, Billy Thompson, and Pee Wee Knight, your top 5. Bill Weeks holds the last qualified position in the number 19 right now. And up front, it's Kevin Durgan looking to find a way around the 27 of Bubba Pelton. So far, he's not been able to find a lane. Looked to the inside, thought he could fill that groove, and then just couldn't do it. Bubba Pelton doing a nice job in the 27 of hanging on, holding off the charge of the Z28, Kevin Durgan. Glenn Reynolds taking his 105 to the pit area, obviously experiencing some mechanical difficulty also. 27 has to work to the outside of the number 9 of Mike Grant now. Grant moves to the inside. Nice gesture by Grant, giving the top runners plenty of room. The 88 now smoking as he negotiates the 3 and 4 turn. Tough break for Mike Field as something has gone amiss in the 88. That will retire the 88 for the night. Battle up front. Still Kevin Durgan working to the back bumper and the inside now of Bubba Pelton. Bubba Pelton gets back down to the inside. Kevin Durgan has to back out of it just a little bit. Right to the back bumper. He tries the inside again as Pelton goes a little wide. Here comes Durgan as they race the 3 turn side by side. Durgan's got the inside groove and the lead. Out of turn 4, 2 flags in the air, 2 laps to go. Rick Burnett now works the inside of Bubba Pelton. Pelton's car drifting a little bit, just unable to hang in that inside groove, and tough to hold off those hard charges when your car is drifting to the outside. White flag in the air for this consolation event. 1 lap to go. Kevin Durgan, Rick Burnett, Bubba Pelton, Billy Thompson, Pee Wee Knight, Steve Perry, Scott Chapman, and Phil Weber. Your qualified cars right now. Checkered flag is in the air for Kevin Durgan as he collects the consolation event tonight. And along with Rick Burnett, Bubba Pelton, Billy Thompson, and Pee Wee Knight, all those cars, those top 8 cars, will go to the main event a little bit later on. We'll wait for the signal from the officials that the drivers are all strapped in and ready. And we are ready. Assistant starter Junior Niles says the drivers are ready. Drivers, good luck to you all. Now I'd like all of you fans to help me with those 4 most famous words in auto racing. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Gentlemen! Says the track is clear and we are ready for a start. We'll be looking for a start out of turn 4. On the front line, young Joe Bowser and Kurt Gary will bring the late models down for a 42-lap feature event here tonight at Beech Motor Speedway. Loretta from Pape Chevyland makes its way to the infield pit road. Bowser and Gary bring him down to turn 4. Green flag is in the air, and Bowser jumps into a quick lead down into turn 1. Joe Bowser with a quick lead as all the time has some engine problems here and gets it refired in time to keep us under green. And Joe Bowser leads the way down to start this 42-lap feature event here tonight at Beech Motor Speedway. 16 also refires, and we're still under green. Cars all stacked up from about position 2 on back, as Joe Bowser has Kurt Gary and Kenny Lund working his back bumper. Kenny Lund now looks to the outside. Brand new chassis by Hank Snowman and the crew under veteran driver Kenny Lund in number 1. Then comes Mike Johnson in the second row. And Kurt Gary. Johnson is the defending champion in car number 33. A lot of strong running late model sportsmen here to keep your eyes on, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit more time for the drivers to make their way to the front. High Point then start at the rear, and that's where you normally find Mike Johnson. But with misfortune early, he is up near the front, and he's racing for the lead now with Joe Bowser. It's Bowser to the inside, Mike Johnson to the outside as they race the 2-turn down the backstretch. Bowser to the inside, and to his outside, Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson now tries to bring it even in the 4-turn. Can't quite do it. It's still Bowser hanging on a slight lead over Mike Johnson. Kenny Lund just sitting there waiting to see what happens with those two leaders. Bobby Babb working the outside now as he begins to make time on the outside. Barry Babb, also younger brother of the driver number 4, is in the 0. Both working the outside groove, as is Bobby Libby. Last week's winner Paul Johnson, and also the 37 of Bobby Harrison. As the night wears on, the outside groove will hopefully work, and Mike Johnson's making that outside groove work right now as he takes over the lead as they race to the 1-turn. Mike Johnson, your new leader in the 33. Joe Bowser, then comes Kenny Lund, Andy Liu, the heat winner earlier today. Then side by side racing finds Kurt Gary and Bobby Babb, then Ricky Harrison. Bobby Libby also on the move into the 3-turn, working the outside, as is Paul Johnson. Mike Johnson up front, putting some distance now on Joe Bowser. Mike Johnson working out to a comfortable lead over the second place contender. Cars on the move on the outside. The number 4, the number 34, the number 35. Cars to watch, trying to work that outside groove and make their way to the front. Babb brothers race side by side now into turn 1. Outside groove is the hard way evidently right now, as those cars on the outside groove, other than Mike Johnson, finding it difficult to make time out there. Ricky Harrison now working the outside also, as he works to the outside of Kurt Gary and now looks to the outside of the 56 down the backstretch into the 3-turn. Ricky Harrison on the move in the 85. In the 4-turn now he's side by side with Andy Liu. Across the stripe, about a half car length lead, racing the 1 and 2 turn. Keep your eyes on Ricky Harrison. Takes over the position from the 56. On the move now, looking to the outside of the number 1 of Kenny Lund. Car out of shape in the infield in turn 4. Looks like Gary Pulsler. Also a car off over the turn. Mike Mayetta off over turn 4. See if he can refire the car. Flagman's watching. The 13 does refire. We stay under green. Out of the 4-turn down the front stretch, Ricky Harrison making the outside groove work as he takes over second place, the 85. Nice bit of driving as he worked the outside of several cars to make his way to second spot, but he's got a lot of distance to close up on Mike Johnson. Andy Liu also trying to make that outside groove work, as is Barry Babb, Bobby Babb, and Paul Johnson. Up for third between Joe Bowser, Kenny Lund, and Andy Liu. And right at their back door they have Kurt Gary, Bobby Babb, and Bobby Libby. still trying to make that outside groove work. Bobby Randall also sets into the outside groove, as does Phil Pinkham. Halfway mark. Blackman Eddie Waltz says halfway. Appears as though Ricky Harrison is gaining on Mike Johnson. Has a lap car to deal with now as he approaches the 98 of Mola Tank. 85 appears to be gaining ground on the 33, but he has to contend with the car of Mola Tank now on the backstretch as he looks to try to race one side or the other of Latane. Latane moves over just a little bit in the 98. That gives the inside lane to Ricky Harrison. Mitch Brown transfers to Hobbies into number 40. Looks like he may be taking the car to the pit area. Oh, he's going to keep it out another lap. Perhaps hope for a restart. Bobby Libby now working the outside of Kenny Lund and Joe Bowser. Keep your eyes on the 34 racing in the 3-turn. Bobby Libby, a strong runner in the 34, trying to make that outside groove work, as does Kerry Winslow and Paul Johnson, along with Bobby Randall and Phil Pinkham, all trying to fill that outside lane. They know they've got to make their move now. They can't wait any longer. Meanwhile, up front, it's still Mike Johnson being pursued by Ricky Harrison. Ricky Harrison appears to be closing a little bit on the 33 of Mike Johnson. Bobby Libby makes his way around the 32 of Joe Bowser to take over the 3rd spot. A lot of distance to close up and try to catch those front runners. 85 closing on the 33 of Mike Johnson. 29 laps down. Remember, a 42-lap race tonight. Normally the late models run 35. Tonight, it's 42 laps in all 3 divisions. Ricky Harrison now working his way steadily to the back bumper of the 33 of Mike Johnson. He's closed it from about a 12 or 13 car length advantage to about a 3-car length, maybe a 2-car length advantage now as he keeps closing on the 33 of Mike Johnson. Bobby Libby begins to put distance on Joe Bowser and Paul Johnson. Working to the outside of Bowser now down the backstretch. The 85 has caught up to the 33 of Mike Johnson, and it looks like it's going to be a race now between Mike Johnson and Ricky Harrison. Johnson had a big lead. Now he has a mirror full of Ricky Harrison, a hard charger, former modified driver in the 85. Type of driver who won't settle for second if he possibly can help it. Keep your eyes on the 85 now as he looks to race to the back bumper of the 33. Now he looks to the outside out of the 4-turn to see if he can possibly mount a challenge on the outside. Working to the outside, a scramble in the 4-turn brings out the yellow flag. Cars scatter. The 17 of Al Burset with some heavy front end damage. Hard to tell. Molatam also up there sitting in the 4-turn, but heavy damage to the front end of the 17 of Al Burset puts us under a caution flag. We will revert back to the last lap run under the green, and on the front line that'll find the 33 of Mike Johnson and the 85 of Ricky Harrison. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the lineup is correct and the track is clear, and we're ready to restart at lap 33 of this 42-lap anniversary special here tonight at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. And on the front line we have defending champion Mike Johnson and Ricky Harrison is outside. Green flag is in the air as the cars negotiate the 4-turn down the front stretch. They race the 1-turn side by side. Car out of shape down into turn 1. The 11 is Rick Zemlo. We'll have to see if he can refire in order to keep us under green. Cannot do it, and that puts the late models back under a caution flag. The 11 sitting there in a dangerous spot with the driver's door to the oncoming traffic. Flagman Eddie Walsh says we must go back under a caution flag, and we'll realign the late models in just a moment. We'll be back to green flag racing at lap 33. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear, and we're ready to restart at lap 33. Mike Johnson and Ricky Harrison bring them down to Flagman Eddie Walsh. Green flag is in the air, and it's Johnson and Harrison side by side into turn 1. As they race the two-turn, it's still side by side with Johnson to the inside, Harrison racing to the outside. Side by side still through turns 3 and 4. The front stretch finds Mike Johnson with about a fender ahead as they enter turn 1. Ricky Harrison fights back in turn 2 to bring him side by side down the front stretch, and he puts a bumper ahead, now a fender ahead in turn 3. 4-turn finds him side by side once again, and Mike Johnson leading by about a fender at the start-finish line. Andy Lude with a mechanical failure, and the car has dumped some liquid on the speedway, and that'll put us back to a caution flag as something let go in the 56 of Andy Lude. And as you can see, the turn 1 area is spewed with some liquid from the 56 of Andy Lude, and that will put us back to a realignment with 35 laps down in this 42-lap anniversary special for the late model sportsman. But right now, Flagman Eddie Walsh says we're ready to restart this late model sportsman feature with Mike Johnson and Ricky Harrison once again on the front line to bring the late models down. Green flag is in the air, and this time it's Mike Johnson with a slight advantage as the cars race the front stretch, negotiate the speedy dry that remains in turn 2, and a couple of cars, one car anyway, electing to go to the pit area. That's Bobby Babb. Lead is held by Mike Johnson. Then comes Ricky Harrison, Bobby Libby. Paul Johnson has made up a lot of time, a lot of space in the 35. Feature winner last week here at Beech Motor Speedway, racing the outside of Joe Bowser now as he's battling for 4th place. Ricky Harrison now seems to have gained some momentum as he mounts a challenge once again to the back of the 33 of Mike Johnson. And back battling for 4th is a side-by-side battle between Joe Bowser, the 32, and Paul Johnson. Paul Johnson now takes a slight advantage into the 1 turn as he tries to take over that 4th spot. Down the backstretch, he squeezes ahead of the 32 and takes over 4th spot. And now things are tightening up considerably up front. Mike Johnson not only has Ricky Harrison at his back bumper, but Bobby Libby and Paul Johnson as they're going to make a race of it to the finish. Flagman Eddie Walsh says 2 to go next time by. 2 flags in the air, 2 laps to go. Mike Johnson now with a lot of pressure from Ricky Harrison, Bobby Libby, and Paul Johnson. As the white flag goes in the air, Bobby Libby moves to the outside and tries to mount a challenge to the outside of the 85 of Ricky Harrison in the 2-turn. Harrison is trying to mount a challenge to Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson trying to hold off 3 challenges now to a checkered flag in the air, and Mike Johnson manages to hold off a hard-charging Ricky Harrison, Bobby Libby, and Paul Johnson as he claims his first feature of the 1990 season. Mike Johnson, your defending late model sportsman champion from last season, got a lot of pressure from some strong runners here tonight. A fine run by Ricky Harrison in the 85, Bobby Libby in the 34, and Paul Johnson in the 35, putting a lot of pressure on your race winner here tonight. Mike Johnson pervading the colors and taking his cool-down lap. And the good folks from Mayetta Foundation with the hardware for the top 3 finishers as the race winner cools down his number 33 and gets a chance to collect up his composure after a lot of pressure here tonight. We will go trackside to Andy Cusack.
This is actually your first finish, is it not?
No, we finished a couple first. The last 2 we didn't finish, but
But you've had nothing but hard luck so far this year.
yep. I hope it's gone.
I tell you, the way this one started off tonight, you get out front, it looked like you were going to be on easy street, but things started to catch up to you, didn't they?
Yeah, the car started slowing down a little bit, and the other guys got going real good. And if it wouldn't have been for the restart, they probably would have beat us.
Was it a real tough race for you personally? Did that take a lot out of you?
No, just to feel good to finish was real good. Last week we had real bad luck. In the heat we had bad luck, and you know, for the race to go as long as it did without a yellow was real good to me, whether I was out front or not. You know, but I'm real happy and pleased with the sponsors and everything.
Well, you made a nice run of it, and we'll let you talk a bit about your sponsors as we bring tonight's sponsor forward. Tell us a little bit about who is involved with your car.
Main parts and machine, R.J. Grondin, ERA, Agency One, Smith & Sons, Fowler Construction. We got a whole bunch of them.
Well, here's one more for you, and a nice big trophy to take home, the presentation from Tommy Mayetta of Mayetta Foundation. Tommy?
Congratulations, Mike. You had a lot of heat on you. Present you this trophy on behalf of Mayetta Foundation.
We thank you very much. Your brother told me you'd be giving this to me tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Mike Johnson. Bruce?
Thank you, Andy. And we have actually 3 more features on tap for you. We have the Limited Sportsman, the Modifieds, and then the Wildcats. So the number 90. On the inside, the 89 is driven by Spike Manitol from Scarborough. To his outside, number 3 is driven by Lou Weatherby from Wyndham. The number 50 is Bob Gahan from Barrington, New Hampshire. To his outside, Scott Watts from Seabrook, New Hampshire. The 29, Tommy Oliver from Scarborough. The 61, David Pinkham from Buxton. The 1, Willie Elliott out of Scarborough. Mike Mayetta in the 16, Bill Charles in the 19. The 33 is Bob Doak. The 6, Dennis Westcott out of Westbrook. As the pace car makes its way to the infield, flagman Eddie Wald says we're ready to start this modified feature out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Pete Rondo jumps into a quick lead. And he has Spike Manitol at his back bumper, and to the outside, Kevin Tobias with a jump, but it's a yellow flag in the air as we're looking to a false start and bring them back to restart once again. Pole setter sets the pace. That's the number 5 of Pete Rondo. And flagman Eddie Waltz wants a bumper-to-bumper and wheel-to-wheel alignment with the pace setter, the pole position. That's the number 5 of Pete Rondo. Column of 2s being reassembled down the backstretch. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the track is clear and we're ready to start tonight's feature once again with Rondo and Tobias bringing the modifieds down to a start out of turn 4. Flagman Eddie Waltz says keep it even, gentlemen. Green flag is in the air, and once again Rondo jumps into a quick lead. Tobias and Spike Manitol side by side right at the rear bumper of the number 5. Then comes Bobby Gahan and Lou Weatherby. Tommy Oliver getting into the action, as is Bobby Gahan and Willie Elliott. Everybody looking for racing room back in the pack. Pete Rondo in the number 5, Rookie of the Year last year in the modifieds. And the Pete's True Value Hardware Riverside Trail in Winnebago, number 5. A strong contender. Engine problems last week, but he got those sorted out. Inside row has the advantage as it looks like cars come together. They get straightened out once again, but it's costly to the 3 of Weatherby and the F80 of Watts as they lose some ground. Weatherby still trying to work the outside line. Now Mike Mayetta looks outside also. No other choice as the cars are lined up in a single file line but to work the outside. Weatherby gets sideways to turn 3 and 4 down over the banking. Car appears to be stopped off the 4 turn. Flagman Eddie Walsh looking to see if the 3 is going to be able to refire. No, he's not. That puts us under caution as the number 3 sits just down over the 4 turn. The number 3 sponsored by Channel One Video, the official professional videographers here at Beech Motor Speedway, along with Atlas Auto and Towing and the Forest City Chevrolet Company. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the track is clear and we are ready to restart this 42-lap modified feature. Still waiting to see if the number 3 is going to be able to rejoin the lineup. Pace car makes its way down infield pit road and modifies moving speed at turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Once again, Pete Rondo. This time he has Bobby Gahan to the back bumper and Spike Manitoul to the outside. Then comes the number 1 of Willie Elliott and the 29 of Tommy Oliver. 5-car battle right at the front. Pete Rondo holding off multi-year champion Bobby Gahan in the number 50, last week's feature winner. Then comes Willie Elliott as he slides in to fill the 3rd spot and runs right up to the back bumper of the number 50. Car single file now out of the 4 turn. Mike Mayetta looks to the outside lane as he looks to move to the outside of the number 90 of Kevin Tobias down the backstretch. Obviously, if a car wants to advance, they've got to move into that outside groove and make that outside groove work. And it's been kind of a tough chore so far as they get more rubber down on the track and as the temperatures get warmer, it gets easier to run out there. But so far, it has been difficult. Pete Rondo doing a nice job of holding on to this modified lead. Sophomore driver in the modified division, holding off a veteran by the name of Bobby Gahan, the number 50. Another veteran by the name of Willie Elliott in the number 1. Then side-by-side battle in the 4th position finds Spike Manitoul working the inside and Tommy Oliver working to his outside. Still side-by-side as Tommy Oliver tries to make that outside groove work and make his way into 4th place. He works to the outside successfully and takes over 4th place. Up front it is still Pete Rondo, Bobby Gahan, Willie Elliott, Tommy Oliver, and now Spike Manitoul. Gahan looks briefly to the outside and then tucks right back in behind the number 5. Tommy Oliver now works to the outside of the number 1. Tommy Oliver working to the outside into turn 3, trying to make his way into 3rd spot if he possibly can. Still working the outside groove. As it is Elliott at number 1, working the inside, Tommy Oliver in the number 29. Oliver once again makes a bid to the outside of the number 1. These top 4 cars have put a little distance on Spike Manitoul, David Pinkham, and Mike Mayetta now. Oliver up beside Willie Elliott now as they negotiate the backstretch. Turns 3 and 4, still side by side. Tommy Oliver doing a nice bit of driving, working the outside of Willie Elliott. Gains the advantage now by about a half a car length coming out of turn 2. Tommy Oliver takes over the 3rd place position. Now he looks to the back end of the number 50 of Bobby Gahan. Meanwhile, up front, a nice job by Pete Rondo, still hanging on to a tight lead over Gahan. Mike Mayetta on the move as he works to the outside of Spike Manitoul in turns 3 and 4. Gahan still trying to find a lane by the number 5, but so far it just hasn't been there. Coming to the halfway mark this time by Flagman Eddie Walsh says halfway mark for the modifieds in this 42-lap anniversary special. Pete Rondo doing a nice job up front as he holds off the veteran Gahan in the number 50. Then comes Tommy Oliver, Willie Elliott in the number 1, and David Pinkham now your 5th place competitors. The yellow flag comes out. We have a car at the entrance of the infield pit road. It looks like it's the 19 of Bill Childs. He does refire the car now, but not until the yellow flag flies and puts us back to a realignment, and we will revert back to the last lap run under the green flag. And now it will be a side-by-side start for Pete Rondo, who will have to contend with Bobby Gahan to his outside. Should be an interesting restart. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and the alignment is correct, and we're ready to restart at lap 21 as the Beretta from Pape Chevyland makes its way down the infield pit road. Rondo and Gahan. Green flag in the air. Gahan takes a slight advantage as they race the front stretch to turn 1. Rondo fights back on the inside and retakes the lead down the backstretch. About a half a car length lead, and now it's nearly side by side in turns 3 and 4. Rondo with a slight advantage down the front stretch. Willie Elliott has filled the inside groove. Now there's no place else for Bobby Gahan but to stay in that outside lane. Elliott dives into second place now as Gahan must stay to the outside. Willie Elliott takes over second, and it's Tommy Oliver trying to take over third as he dives to the inside of the number 50. Bobby Gahan stuck to the outside now as the competitors fill the inside lane. Pete Rondo, still your leader in the number 5. Then comes Wild Willie Elliott in the number 1. Now he looks to challenge Rondo right to the back bumper as they turn to turn 3 to 4. It's still Rondo and Elliott, Oliver and Gahan. Then comes Spike Matatal and David Pinkham. Now the driver who's made up a lot of ground is the number 3 of Lou Weatherby now as he works to the outside of Scott Watts to get back into the thick of things. Cars stacked right up side by side from positions 3 on back. Pete Rondo still up front. Willie Elliott second. Cars scatter and it puts the 61 to the inside. Everybody seems to be okay, but the 61 lost some ground as he tangled, and we have a car into the front stretch wall out of turn 4, brings out the red flag. We'll give you a report just as soon as we have it. It's the number 19 of Bill Childs. The safety crew is at the car. The ambulance crew will check out the driver, and we'll give you a report just as soon as we have it, as we are at a red flag situation as Bill Childs, a newcomer in the modified division. We ask you to stay in your seats, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fine safety crew, and we need to let them do their work as Bill Childs takes a hard hit into the wall off the turn 4 area. We will give you a report just as soon as we have one. They tell us Ken Wilkinson is in the 19. Okay, they tell us Ken Wilkinson is in the 19. We will give you a report just as soon as we have one. As we've emphasized every week here, safety is at a premium. And we trust that with the bracing in these cars and the safety equipment that the driver is okay. The safety crew is an experienced one and are prepared for situations like this, and we trust that everything will be okay. A lot of the cars experiencing overheating problems, and due to the red flag situation, the officials have allowed the cars to go to the pit and try to correct the overheating problems and then come back and realign. Flagman Eddie Welch says we'll give him one more lap to get into a column of twos and be ready to restart at lap 27 of this 42-lap modified feature on the 42nd anniversary of Beechers Motor Speedway. Seven laps down, and it is Pete Rondo and Willie Elliott on the front line, followed by Tommy Oliver, Bobby Gahan, Spike Manitoul, and David Pinkham, your top 6 cars. $27 down, 15 to go. Flagman Eddie Welch says the track is clear. We're ready for a restart at turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Pete Rondo with a slight advantage into turn 1, but it's Willie Elliott fighting back on the outside. Rondo to the inside, Elliott to the outside. Rondo, your leader, as they race turn 3. Cars tangle just a little bit as they negotiate the 4-turn, break loose, and that turns things around just a little bit as the 29 and the number 1 kind of lock wheels there for a moment. And that was the advantage, I guess, for Elliott, as apparently perhaps a tire is going down on the 29. It looks as though it might be. Saw sparks off the 29. Meanwhile, up front, Pete Rondo has 2 veterans at his back bumper. Willie Elliott looks to the outside now, and right behind him is Bobby Gahan at the 50 as they put some distance on David Pinkham and Spike Manitoul, their top 5 cars. Top 3 have broken away. Continues to be the number 5 of Pete Rondo. Once again, Willie Elliott looks to the outside, tucks right back into the inside again, knows that if he moves to the outside, Gahan will fill the inside groove. Willie Elliott once again looks to the outside down the backstretch into turn 3, tucks back into the inside. Out of turn 4, again looks to the outside, but is reluctant to make the move into that second groove because he has Bobby Gahan in the number 50 right at his back door. Now David Pinkham closes it up right to the back bumper of Gahan. 4-car race right at the front now. Scott Watts looking to make up some time, as is the number 3 of Lou Weatherby. As they make up a lot of ground. Watts to the outside, the F80. Lou Weatherby in the Channel One video. Number 3 looking for racing room as he's kind of boxed in behind the 89 and the F80. Flagman Eddie Welch says 5 laps to go. 5 laps to go this time by. Willie Elliott dives to the inside of the number 5. Couldn't quite do it as there wasn't quite room enough that time by, but keep your eyes on the number 1 of Willie Elliott. He's right at the back bumper of Pete Rondo. Dives to the inside this time. Willie Elliott, your new leader, into turn 1 as he just dove right to the inside. The outside now, cars, something's happened to the number 5. Evidently a tire went down or something, and a tough break for Pete Rondo after leading much of that race. Evidently had a tire going down as he began to slow. Now it's Willie Elliott and Bobby Gahan at the front. 33 up over the sandbank into the infield. That brings out the caution. Pete Rondo evidently with a flat left rear, it looks like. We'll have to take the car to the pit area. A real tough break for Pete Rondo. The number 33 of Bob Doak up over the sand pile. Officials checking him out now in the infield. And we'll give you a report just as soon as we have it. Officials say he is all right. Flagman Eddie Welch says the track is clear and we are ready. Willie Elliott, a former champion. Bobby Gahan, a former champion. Willie Elliott, the number 1. Bobby Gahan, the number 50. Bringing them down to flagman Eddie Walsh for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Willie Elliott jumps into a quick lead over Gahan, and here comes David Pinkham now to fill the inside groove. Once again, Gahan's going to have to do it to the outside as David Pinkham fills the inside groove. Strong move by Spike Manitoul and Lou Weatherby also as they jump up a position or 2 and into your top 5. Willie Elliott with a mirror full of David Pinkham and Bobby Gahan. 2 of the toughest competitors here. Flagman Eddie Walsh says it'll be 2 to go next time by. 2 laps to go. Bobby Gahan stuck on the outside. Scott Watts also working the outside. Pete Rondo on the move. Scott Watts gets off the pace now. Rondo has to get on the brakes, and white flag is in the air as David Pinkham dives to the inside. Almost had a shot to make it a side-by-side battle. Bobby Gahan works the outside now. Last lap. Willie Elliott with all kinds of pressure now. Pinkham to the inside. Here comes Pinkham up the inside. Elliott just holds him off. What a finish. Willie Elliott just holds off defending 2-time champion David Pinkham in the 61 and Bobby Gahan in the number 50 to collect his first feature of the 1990 season. Your points leader at the present time pads his lead just a little bit by holding off the number 2 contender, and Elliott collects up the colors to parade the checkered flag. He is your point leader at the present time. Second place is the second place finisher, David Pinkham. And third place in points coming into tonight was Mike Mayetta. Bobby Gahan certainly helped his cause. He was 6th in points coming into tonight's race. We will be going trackside in just a moment as Willie Elliott returns the colors to flagman Eddie Walsh. We will go trackside for a chance to have you hear the modified winner in just a moment. Once again, the Mayetta Foundation Company, a yearly sponsor here at the Speedway, providing trophies to help these drivers remember this 42nd anniversary celebration, and we'll go trackside to Andy Cusack.
Thanks, Bruce. Ladies and gentlemen, Willie Elliott. Talk about a close finish. Willie Elliott, come on over here. Willie Elliott, you put it all on at the last minute. Got out there a little bit wide. Pinkham stuck under you. Did you think you'd have this one in the last lap?
No, well, the car was going really good, and I don't know, I got into some water there that last lap, and I see the smoke come off the tires, and I looked, and I see David there, and I said, wow, I just put my foot down, I said, I just hope I can beat him to the line. I guess we just got enough bite out of the turn to just beat him, I guess. But it was a good race. It was a hard one.
You talk about beating him. You've been the past 2 years, you've played second fiddle, to David Pinkham in the championship title. You're a veteran racer. He's new to the sport, at least new to the modified division. And he's had some extreme luck and ability going his way. Does that agitate at all? Is it nice to get a little feature win early in the season and get one up on him?
Yeah, this is probably one of the better years that I've started out. Last week was a double point race, and ever since we've had him, that's the first one I've finished. So that made me feel pretty good. Just to finish one, that was as good as a win. This really puts the icing on the cake. And just like to thank Goodwin Hannaford, my car owner and motor builder. Did a super job. My crew, Mick and Dan, one of my crew members isn't here tonight, and Mitch was crew chief last year. He's filling in for him. And Goldenrod Garage, Scarborough, everybody that's helped us out, and all you fans and stuff. So I want to thank you all for coming.
Goodwin Hannaford will be proud of you tonight. This evening's sponsor is Mayetta Foundation, and part of the fun of having the Mayetta sponsor here with us is you get this king-size trophy to take home and put in your trophy earnings. Tommy Mayetta with the presentation. Tommy?
Congratulations, Willie. That's a hell of a finish. I don't know how you did it.
I always do good when the Mayetta sponsors. I like these trophies, I think.
We think it's an omen. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice round of applause for Willie Elliott. We'll give our 50-50 winner at this time. More than $500 coming his way. In fact, a total of $588. Sir, come on over here. You said your name is Marvin Butcher. How long have you been coming to the ring, Ladies and gentlemen, I address a serious subject for the moment. As you saw, we had a problem here in our modified division, a situation we don't like to have happen very often. The gentleman's name is Ken Wilkinson. He has sustained some pretty serious injuries. He went into the wall sideways, and he has hurt himself quite badly. The Scarborough Rescue has been on hand. They have taken him, and in the process of taking him into the hospital, have him checked over more closely. Unfortunately, that's all I can tell you at this point. I wish I had more information to give to you, but I don't at this point. As we learn anything more during the evening or tomorrow night, we will let you know as to Ken's condition. I thank you for your understanding. Bruce?
Thank you, Andy. And we'll all wish certainly that Ken Wilkinson will be all right and trust that he will be. The 14, Chris Rule. The 78, David Fecto. The 6, Billy Thompson. The 2, Brad Layton. 54, Rick Furnett. 111, Pee Wee Knight. And the 28, Kevin Durgan. Flagman Eddie Waltz says we're ready to start this limited sportsman main event out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air as Mark Bernier jumps into a quick lead right from the pole position. The battle is for second between Earl Glidden in the 76 and Bragg in the 48. 48 now takes over second place. The battle now is for fourth between Shores in the 107 and Ward in the 80 as they race side by side into the street turn. They go a little wide. Steve Howard tried to make that inside groove, couldn't quite do it. Now he gets by the number 80 to be your fifth place contender. Mark Bernier is holding about a 2-car length lead over Tom Bragg. Then comes Earl Glidden, and he is challenged now on the outside by Doug Shores in the 107. Shores racing from the outside of the 76, trying to take over third place. The cars race side by side through the 1 and 2 turn. Shores begins to pull about a half a car length on the 76, now fully by the 76 of Earl Glidden. To take over third place, it's Doug Shores in the 107. Then comes Glidden and Steve Howard for your top 5. A lot of strong runners back in the pack. 42 laps tonight should give them time to make it to the front. Some of the cars that you'll definitely want to keep your eyes on will be cars like the 111 of Pee Wee Knight, the 2 of Brad Layton, the Z28 of Kevin Durgan. Cars way back right now at the back end of the pack. Be interesting to see if they're able to make their way up through this 32-car field tonight. Cars spinning on the backstretch. We have a car turned around facing the traffic that brings out the caution flag. Looks like the 85 of Scott Chapman. He does get it refired. Ed Gallant also gets his refired out of the 1 turn. And we should have a quick realignment. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the lineup is correct and the track is clear, and we are ready to restart tonight's limited sportsman main event at lap 5 of this 42-lap anniversary special here tonight at Beech Motor Speedway, as the Beretta from Pape Chevyland, the official pace car of Beech Motor Speedway, makes its way to the infield pit road. It is Mark Bernier on the pole with Tom Bragg. He is outside, bringing him down. Green flag is in the air, and it's Bernier and Bragg side by side down the front stretch. Bernier takes the lead into turn 1, and Doug Shores closes it right up to keep Bragg on the outside as they battle for that second place position. '76 of Glidden tried to make it a 3-way battle and couldn't quite do it that time by. Cars stretch out into single file now as Bernier controls the front spot. Doug Shores looks to his outside in the 107. Then comes Tom Bragg, Earl Glidden, and Steve Howard in the 03, your top 5. Doug Shores trying to mount a challenge to the outside of the 55 with Mark Bernier now as they negotiate the one turn. Car off over the 4 turn is Steve Perry, and he gets that back underway. Side by side now, they race the 3 and 4 turn area as Shores mounts a strong challenge now to the outside of Mark Bernier. And Tom Bragg just waits to see what is going to happen to those 2 lead cars. Mark Bernier doing a nice job of holding on to the lead. And Doug Shores doing a nice job of running that outside groove. And it's a 2-way battle right now at the front. Back in the pack, cars race 3 abreast in the 1 turn. And make it work as some of the heavy hitters are on the move up from the back of the pack. Keep your eyes back there. Notice some of these people that started right at the tail end. 93 of Dana Palmer, the 70 of Morgan, the 2 of Layton, the 14 of Rule, the Z28 of Durgan. All beginning to make time now as we are about 12 laps into this 42-lap feature. And Mark Bernier now has Tom Bragg in his back bumper and Doug Shores to the outside as they are looking to challenge. We have a tangle in the 2 turn as Bubba Pelton gets crossed up, and that'll bring out the yellow flag as he sets in the 2 turn facing traffic. Flagman Eddie Walsh brings the cars under yellow, and we will restart, and 27 is able to refire. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and we are ready to restart at lap 12 of tonight's Limited Sportsman main event. And on the front line once again is Mark Bernier in the 55 and Doug Shores in the 107. Looking for a start at turn 4. Bernier to set the pace. Green flag is in the air and Tom Bragg dives to the inside to try to make it a 3-way battle. Can't quite do it, but it's a 2-way battle up front with Bernier on the inside and Shores to the outside as they race side by side down the backstretch. Shores with a slight advantage going into the 3 turn. Bernier battles back to the inside in the 4 turn. Now once again Shores with a slight advantage as he crosses the finish line. He takes the lead. Cars tangle in the 4 turn. That'll bring out the yellow flag once again as 2 cars tangle. It looked like Morgan, and I can't tell who the other car is. We'll get that for you in just a moment. Looks like the 70 of Jeff Morgan. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and the alignment is correct, and we are ready to restart this Limited Sportsman feature event at lap 12. Bernier on the front line, and the green flag is out as he battles this time with Earl Glidden in the 76. 2 gentlemen from Westbrook battle up front, and now Tom Bragg takes over second place on a quick dive to the inside as he gets the advantage on young Earl Glidden in the 76. Then comes Steve Howard. And the 80 of Darrell Ward. Your top 5 at this time. Some of the high point men still unable to get back. Cars tangle in the 1 and 2 turn. 2 cars sit to the inside of the track. And back into the infield, apparently off the track. Slide the 73 of Dean Turgeon and the 87 of Steve Perry, both underway, just waiting to get themselves to a point where they can get back on the Speedway. Meanwhile, up front, it's Tom Bragg diving to the inside of Mark Bernier, and he takes over the lead. Gets to the inside of the 55. Then comes Glidden in the 76. Terry Brown on the move on the outside, moved back to the inside to follow Butch Buzzell and Scott Johnson. Now working the outside, it is Kevin Durgan on the move down through the 3 and 4 turn as he makes up a lot of time begins to make his advance to the front, as does Danny Palmer in the 93, a couple of the strong runners in the limited sportsman division. Kevin Durgan, a car to watch, the Z28. Feature winner last week, the former champion here in the limited sportsman division. Point leader is kind of boxed in at the present time. That's the 111 of Pee Wee Knight. Still a lot of ground to make up if he's going to make it to the front. Tangle right here in the front stretch. Wheel off in the car. Billy Thompson sits off the track on the inside. The wheel rolls around out in the middle of the track. Drivers all able to avoid that as Flagman Eddie Walsh quickly put the cars under caution, preventing what could have been a bad situation as that wheel was out there in the middle of the track. And we'll be back to a realignment in just a few moments. Has become a very, very popular event here at the Speedway. So we look forward to that on June 9th. Flagman Eddie Walsh says the track is clear and the alignment is correct, and we're ready to restart at lap 19 of the limited sportsman main event. This time with Tom Bragg to the inside, Mark Burney to the outside as they come down to turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Race side by side. Bragg gets the advantage at the start-finish straight. Side by side once again in turn 1 and 2. Bragg with a slight advantage as they exit turn 2 and start down the front stretch. Glidden dives to the inside to take over second. Scott Johnson looks for racing room on the inside also as he races to the inside of Mark Bernier. It'll be halfway this time by. 21 laps down, 21 to go in this 42-lap feature. Tom Bragg putting a little distance now on the second place competitor. That is Earl Glidden Jr. in the 76, and he has Scott Johnson and Mark Bernier right at his back bumper. Then comes Steve Howard in the 03, Terry Brown in the 44 for the top half dozen in the limited sportsman main event. Looking just a bit further back in the pack, you see Danny Bubar on the move in the 24 as he races to the outside along with Butch Buzzell, that you listened to at Track Chat at intermission time in the 89. Also on the move on the outside is the 93 of Danny Palmer. Pee Wee Knight also in that outside groove now, trying to make up some time, as is Chris Rule. The 64 of Rick Verrill. A number of strong runners now have set up into the outside groove, trying to make up time because they know the race has passed the halfway point, and those cars that start at the back of the lineup have got to make their move now. Tom Bragg with about a 4 or 5 car length lead over Glidden in the 76. Scott Johnson, Mark Bernier. Then comes Steve Howard, Terry Brown, and a side-by-side battle between Butch Buzzell in the 89 and Danny Bubar. Danny Bubar gets a little out of shape as cars scramble there in the one turn. Danny Palmer on the move now as he dives to the inside of Bubar. Here comes the Z28 of Kevin Durgan, also on the move on the outside. Bragg still has a comfortable lead down the backstretch. Glidden still hangs on to a slim lead over Scott Johnson and Mark Bernier. In the outside groove once again, the 89 of Butch Buzzell on the move, along with Danny Palmer and Kevin Durgan, as they all move into that outside groove and try to see if they can make time and work their way to the front. Butch Buzzell already a feature winner this year, as is Kevin Durgan. Some other top cars still hung up back there at the back of the pack. Also a feature winner this year, Chris Rule in the 14. And always a strong runner, the number 2 of Brad Layton, just ahead of him, as is your current point leader, Pee Wee Knight, in the 111, with a lot of distance to cover and only about 12 laps to go now. 30 laps down, 12 to go in this 42-lap race. Tom Bragg continues to hold a rather comfortable lead over the second-place runner, but those cars in the outside groove are on the move. Keep your eyes on Butch Buzzell in the 89, the 93 of Danny Palmer, the Z28 of Kevin Durkin. All those cars seem to be moving a little better now on the outside. Cars 3 wide on the front stretch now. Get together. It's the 55 of Bernier gets turned sideways. Straightens it out, and 2 or 3 cars cannot avoid that, and a tangle that'll bring out the yellow once again as several of the cars tangle between the 1 and 2 turn. Had a 3 wide race going into the 1 turn, and the wasn't quite room enough. And cars tangled and got out of shape, and that collected up several other competitors. We'll restart at lap 32 with 10 laps to go. We'll also remind you that you might enjoy the Beech Ridge Motor Speedway racing calendar. It features a number of the top cars here at the Speedway. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that at another point in the program. Those are available here at the Speedway. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the track is clear and the lineup is correct. And we're ready to restart with 32 down and 10 to go. Tom Bragg and Earl Glidden on the front line, bring them down to turn 4. Green flag is in the air. Glidden makes a strong challenge to the outside now as he works to the outside of Tom Bragg. Bragg right back on the inside. Butch Buzzell right up through the middle on a 3 wide dive to the inside and works now to the outside of Scott Johnson. Cars tangle and some sheet metal is lost in the 3 turn, but all the cars appear to be moving. A tangle right here on the front stretch as Glidden gets out of shape and several cars spin to try to avoid the cars that are out of shape there, the 76 and the 54, the 80 of Ward. Everybody underway with the exception of the 54, bringing us to a restart once again. Flagman Eddie Waltz says the track is clear and the lineup is correct, and we're ready to restart at lap 32 of the Limited Sportsman main event. Tom Bragg to the inside. This time Scott Johnson to his outside in the number 61. Flagman Eddie Waltz says wait to turn 4, gentlemen. Green flag is in the air, and they're side by side down the front stretch. Bragg to the inside, Scott Johnson to the outside. Still side by side through turns 1 and 2 down the back stretch. It is a slight advantage for Bragg in the 48, but Johnson fights back to make it side by side once again between turns 3 and 4. Bragg once again with a slight advantage. Butch Buzzell also looks for racing room as he's momentarily boxed in. The 89 tangled in the 1 turn as cars get together, and we'll have to see if they're able to refire. Brings out the yellow flag once again as several of the cars are unable to refire. We have, looks like Rick Verrill, Mark Bernier, and I think it was Chuck Haynes, it looked like. Those 3 cars unable to fire, and puts us to a restart situation once again. Lineup is correct and the track is clear, and we're ready to restart with 33 laps down. And the field has been thin considerably in a tough battle here tonight for who's going to win the 42nd annual anniversary celebration. 42 lap special here tonight. On the front row, it is Tom Bragg to the inside. The 48 to his outside is Scott Johnson in the 61. Bringing them down to Flagman Eddie Waltz. Looking for a start out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air as they race side by side to the front stretch line. Slight advantage for the 61 of Scott Johnson as they enter the one turn. Bragg fights back on the inside. They're even out of turn 2 down the backstretch. Slight advantage now by Bragg, but Johnson fights back on the outside. Second row finds Butch Buzzell and Danny Palmer. Pee Wee Knight has made up a tremendous amount of ground as he is now battling up, knocking on the door of the top 5, as is the Z28 of Kevin Durgan and the 2 of Brad Layton. They have covered a lot of ground. Bubba Peldon also, after a little skirmish there in the 2-turn, back underway and running strong. Bragg once again stretches it out a little bit, and Butch Buzzell takes over second. The battle is for third with Danny Palmer to the inside and Scott Johnson to the outside. Tom Bragg doing a nice job in the 48 as he continues to lead this strong field of limited sportsmen. As Butch Buzzell now looking to the outside and tucks back into the inside. Butch Buzzell looking for racing room. Flagman Eddie Walsh says it'll be 5 to go next time by. 5 to go for the limited sportsman main event. Tom Bragg now trying to hold off a hard charging Butch Buzzell as Buzzell looks to the inside now. Couldn't quite do it. Looked like he was going to. Now he looks again to the inside as Bragg goes a little wide. On the move is Pee Wee Knight in the 111, the Z28 of Durgan and the number 2 of Layton. Tight battle now with Butch Buzzell to the inside. He gets the inside on Tom Bragg. Buzzell to the inside, Bragg to the outside, side by side down the backstretch. Then comes Palmer, Knight, Terry Brown, Kevin Durgan, and Brad Layton. Going to be a hard charge to the finish. Next time by, it'll be 2 to go. Butch Buzzell breaks away a little bit, puts a little distance on the second place car of Tom Bragg, and he is challenged now on the inside by Danny Palmer, on the outside by Knight. White flag is in the air. The battle right now is for second, third, fourth. It's up for grabs. Checkered flag will be in the air this time by. It'll be Butch Buzzell collecting up his second feature of this 1990 season as he holds off Tom Bragg, Pee Wee Knight, Danny Palmer, and the Z28 of Kevin Durgan. With the strong runners from the back of the pack finally making their way to the front, and had to make up a lot of ground, but they did so successfully. Second win of this young 1990 season for Butch Buzzell. And you heard at intermission time as he parades the colors. In just a few moments, we'll have a chance to go trackside, and you'll have a chance once again to hear our winner, Butch Buzzell, picking up his second feature, first driver to do so in this young season, over Tom Bragg, who drove a very strong race tonight, as did Pee Wee Knight in the 111. We'll remind you also that we still have the Wildcats, and tonight it will be the A team of the Wildcats as Butch Buzzell returns the colors to Flagman Eddie Walsh and prepares to exit the car. We prepare to go trackside to Andy Cusack.
Thanks, Bruce. Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Buzzell. You made it, Butch. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Andy. That wasn't a give me.
I would say not. You really had to work your butt off for that.
The car's been prepared really well. That motor that's in there tonight's got 150,000 miles on it. We pulled it out of Barry, Missouri's junkyard just to get us by until Billy gets our motor done for next week, but I think I'll tell him to hold up.
You were saying that if you made it into the feature tonight, we talked in the pit and you said, if I make it into the feature tonight, it ought to be quite a show.
I would be glad just because I had the track talk there just to get out here with my car, without being pushed. And This is the highlight of my night. Francis Sear, Darrell Richardson, Gene Black, Rich Deacomer are the people behind me. I got Bill's Oil Service, Reserve Towing, Scott Pullen and Danny Pullen have put a lot into this car. It's Scott's old car, and they've helped me a lot. And Plum Porter's also stood behind me. He'd give me his car to race when we didn't have a car, and hell, it didn't work out so well, but we're back.
Well, Butch, you said during the track chat that going home in second place isn't really fun, but tonight's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's for sure, Andy. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Tommy Maeta from the Maeta Foundation Company has the giant-sized trophy for you. And what a way to start the season with this one to add to your opening day win. Tommy Maeta.
Congratulations, you did a hell of a job. You said you come here to win. That's what you did. I present you this trophy on behalf of Maeta Foundation.
Thank you very much, Tommy. Without the players and people that sponsor these races, they wouldn't be possible. And without you fans coming to pay the paychecks, we wouldn't show up. So thanks a lot to everybody tonight.
And thank you, Butch. And congratulations once again to Butch Buzzell. Bruce?
Thank you, Andy. A fine run, and whether it's a coincidence or not, I'm sure those two gentlemen, Butch Buzzell and Pee Wee Knight, are going to be anxious to participate in that track chat again, as it worked out well for them, and a first and a third, certainly fine showing, and Butch Buzzell first to collect the repeat feature win here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway in a highly competitive class of limited sportsmen. The 14, Chris Grunt, they are under green. We thought they had one more lap. They're under green, and we get a tangle right here on the front stretch. Cars scatter, and everybody is moving but the 55. See if he can get it refired. He's got it going backwards. Now he's got it going frontwards. Cars tangle also on the backstretch, and we have a car backwards there in the 3-turn. That'll bring out the yellow flag. Red flag now is out, and some of the drivers have a little difficulty understanding that. Green flag is in the air once again to restart the Wildcat race here on anniversary night here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. Immediately the red flag is right back out again. Unable to refire in the 1 turn, and looks like the cars are going to be able to get them stopped before they get to the back seat of that car sitting there. And green flag is in the air once again. Number 6. Car immediately spins in the 3-turn. Another one spins in the 3-turn. So far, everybody clears that car. Looks like the leader is the 69 on the backstretch, followed by number 6 and number 67. Your top 3 cars. If you can keep this straight, you probably ought to be a mathematician. I'd like to have Mike Batchelor go to the gate, please. Mike Batchelor to the main gate, please. Leader is still the 69. Now in second place is number 23. Third place is held by number 8. Your leader now is Don Bryant. Several cars spin to the infield in the 4-turn area. One gets underway and the other is off the track. But we have a red flag as they give us a report that the injured person is okay in the pit area, but they did want to go and check and obviously be certain that it wasn't anything serious, but obviously want to take the precaution. Track appears to be clear and we are ready for a restart. Green flag is in the air to restart Wildcat A team of this anniversary night here at Beech Speedway. Looks like the number 12 is listed as our leader on the leaderboard. Number 8 is now listed as your leader. Number 10 is in second place. Number 8 is driven by Clyde Hennessy. And number 10 is driven by Brian Meserve. Number 3 now your second place competitor, that's Craig Strout. White flag is in the air for the leader, number 8. That is Clyde Hennessy. Receiving a challenge now from Craig Strout in the number 3. Down the backstretch, Strout working to the outside of the number 8. Cars going high on the speedway. Side by side, they come to the line. The number 3 at the wire. That is Craig Strout in the number 3, followed by the number 8, Clyde Hennessy Jr. Then the number 10 is Brian Meserve, and the number 37, Wayne Pugsley. That brings our race program to a conclusion. We'll remind you that we'll be right back tomorrow night for the running of the Memorial Day Classic here at Beech Ridge Motor Speedway. And we'll also remind you that you are welcome to come out on the Speedway if you would like to stay around.